Welcome to Breakdown. SEC versus the Big Ten. It's April the 6th. JJ, there's a lot of good stuff basketball-wise going on. You ready to break it down, SEC and Big Ten?
Born ready, Dad.
Born ready? Then we at it. Let's break it down. Let's start first, JJ, with the men's.
Okay, let's start with the men's.
Final Four.
Final Four in Houston.
Final Four in Houston. There was two conference notably absent.
Oh, yeah.
SEC and Big Ten. So that one, not much. But San Diego State and Florida Atlantic. Anything on that one real quick?
Well, both of those schools, one of those schools is for sure leaving Conference USA for the AAC. That's Florida Atlantic.
Okay.
So that was nice for them to depart with giving Conference USA their first Final Four since their existence.
Cool. And UConn Miami.
And UConn Miami, not much to say. Congrats to UConn.
Okay. And so those two winners, UConn won, San Diego State versus UConn. Wow. What a headliner. Where were the Blue Bloods?
Well, UConn is the Blue Blood.
Okay. Blue Blood, UConn. What you got to say about that game?
It was one of the uglier championship game performances, but that seems to happen with UConn a lot. I remember the Kimball Walker Butler game where Butler didn't shoot 20. They shot less than 20%.
Yeah.
So, congrats to UConn. I thought the game was I thought it was pretty indicative of UConn's dominance in the tournament. What did you think of it?
Well, let me just say this. There was an average of 14.69 TV viewers.
Mm-hmm.
It was the least watched NCAA basketball championship on record.
Oh, yeah.
It was the least watched on record.
Of course.
That's why, JJ, the TV networks want the Blue Bloods to be there.
Yeah.
That's why, because the ratings will be much, much better. The previous year's previous year viewers was 17.05 million.
Yeah.
And this one was 14.69 million.
Yeah, when it comes to TV ratings, they want either blue bloods or name brands. You don't need a blue blood if you have Michigan in it or Ohio State in it, because of their name. Like Michigan is top 7 when it comes to TV ratings in the NCAA tournament over the past 2 decades. So, they draw in ratings, and they're not a blue blood, but they're a name brand. They're like an Ohio State. Miami is like a name brand, but they're a private school.
Okay.
And the other ones all have lesser brands than Miami. Florida.
Well, the previous year,
Yeah.
2 Blue Bloods, 17.
All Blue Bloods.
That's what I said, 2 Blue Bloods.
But the Final Four was Villanova and Duke. In addition to North Carolina.
Okay.
Sorry.
North Carolina and Kansas, though.
Yes.
Or the championship game. They're the Blue Blood.
Yes.
Because I was giving the ratings for the Blue Blood. That one was 17 million.
Mm-hmm.
And the one this year was 14.7 million.
Okay. I wasn't sure where you were going with that. My only point was the other Final Four games also rated higher too. I mean, they want the Blue Bloods.
Okay.
They want the name, the coaches.
Okay, JJ, since there was no SEC Big Ten team in the men's finals, we're done with the men's final?
We're done with the men's final for this year.
How about the women's Final Four?
Okay, how about it?
Okay, there were 4 teams there: Iowa, South Carolina, LSU, Virginia Tech. Talk about the Iowa-South Carolina game. South Carolina was the overall number one seed going into that game.
Yeah, so South Carolina got in huge foul trouble. Boston got 2 quick fouls, had 0 points in the first half. Iowa's zone was really just incredibly effective. And Caitlin Clark, went Steph Curry mode and had another 40-point triple-double.
So the number one seed that had won, I think 40-some games in a row, got defeated by a Big Ten. SEC was knocked off by the Big Ten in the first game of the Final Four on the women's side. Second game picked LSU and Virginia Tech, and LSU won that. So that set the stage for Iowa and LSU, and LSU won that game. Talk about that game.
Yeah, it was a game that LSU pretty much dominated in the second half for the entirety of, all of the third quarter. They looked better, faster, more athletic, and they looked more prepared for Iowa's zone.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean they penetrated and they out rebounded them. So
Just talk about the viewership for that game, the TV, the network viewership. 9.9 million.
yep,
That was an all-time record for women's uh, basketball. The previous record was when UConn, I forget who UConn beat, but they beat someone in 2002, and that had 5.7 million viewers. So they just shattered the record. It was about 4.2 million, almost doubled the previous record.
yeah.
Was it a good game?
It was not the best game. I mean, it wasn't the best game that Iowa played in the most recent two games. I mean, I would say the South Carolina game was a lot better, more interesting of a game. But they watched for the draw. Caitlin Clark, when it comes to men and women, she will be the biggest star of anybody returning next year. So
She can't go pro?
no, she's only a junior. And I told you like off camera, I thought that she could be eligible after her junior year. But in women's college basketball, you still need to go all 4 years.
What about the transfer portal?
Why would she transfer?
More money. That's why coaches leave one place to go to the other. It's more money, right?
Yeah, I think Iowa will be able to
Give her any money that she might get anyplace else.
I think that they'll be able to keep the. Honestly, she's probably the most famous. Do I want to say all of athletics? Do you think she's the most famous college athlete returning? I mean, because Bryce Young isn't coming back, CJ Stroud isn't coming back. What's the most famous quarterback coming back?
KJ.
Okay, what's the most famous quarterback coming back?
You may be right.
I mean, she might be the most famous athlete
coming back for next season.
Yes.
You may be right. There was some controversy in that game, JJ, in the championship game.
Yeah, there was.
Angel Reese.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The "You Can't See Me" symbol, whatever. She did that.
Yeah.
And she also did something like pointed to her ring finger.
Yeah.
To Clark.
Yeah.
Was that a big deal?
Not to me.
I agree. It was much to do with nothing, but the news media made a huge deal out of it. I saw things where it was blown up ridiculously out of proportion.
Well, don't even need to really add too much to that. Like give it too much oxygen even. So
yeah, as they said, much to do about nothing. The TV rating, JJ, you mentioned Clark coming back, 9.9 million viewers. Is that a trend, or was that just a one-time aberration?
I think as
Will
far
that
as
be a trend?
I think that depends on. I think that's more situational, honestly.
Okay.
I think she kind of did something that we haven't really seen anyone do since. Like Steph Curry kind of did it with Davidson when he went to on his Elite 8 run. Where kids can gravitate to a style of play where I think a lot of people can see it and recognize that they can't do what she's doing. And I think for a lot of women's basketball, a lot of times people watch and be like, well, I could do that, I could do that, Okay. I think when you're pulling up from 40 with a quick release, that's something that you can acknowledge, I can't really do that. So you respect it more. But I don't think we're going to see, I think this is situational because, I mean, how often have we seen it since Steph Curry? Did we see it in the men's tournament since Steph Curry?
Well, Clark is definitely a generational type player.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned. So
I
think there would be a lot of people tuning in just to see her next year if they make the tournament to the final game, and hopefully they will. I can't see them not being a huge force in the game next year. Iowa.
Yeah.
But no, the women's game was the women's Final Four to me was better all around than the men's Final Four. That's just to me. I mean, the LSU Virginia Tech game was good. The South Carolina Iowa game was good, and then the championship game had a huge draw.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't say it was better, but it was pretty good.
Okay. Well, more people did watch the men game, but I'm the championship game. But the whole the three games there, I'm talking about, not just the one game. But that's me. JJ, let's talk. We were talking about next year, thing like that. Let's talk transfer portal.
Okay.
I want to specifically start off. I mean, there are some stars in the transfer portal. The number one rated player in the transfer portal right now is Hunter Dickinson, 7'1" center from U of M, Michigan. Number two guy is Max
Asmus.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk Mr. Dickinson. Asmus is from Oral Roberts.
Yeah.
But let's talk Mr. Dickinson. He's a 7'1" center. Alexandria, Virginia native, top-rated player in the portal.
Yeah.
He's been getting plenty of love.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that offensively brings a lot to the table. Inside outside game. Okay. He doesn't shoot a lot of threes, but he's shoots over 40% for his career. But if he can take them at a high volume and somewhat retain that percentage, he's a guy that can do a lot for your team offensively.
Is there a chance that he'll decide to come back to Michigan and not exercise his portal rights?
As someone who supports the University of Michigan, I hope not, but there's always a chance.
Okay. I said he was getting lots of love.
Yeah.
He did a Zoom call with Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yesterday. The day before that, he did a Zoom call with the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the favorite to land Mr. Hunter Dickinson?
Well, initially when he first entered the transfer portal, everyone pointed to two different schools. It was Providence, now coached by Ed Cooley, and it was Kansas, coached by Bill Self. Bill Self is a notorious big man coach. He loves big men, and that's a place where you can win a championship. And I'm sure, I don't know what the NIL situation is specifically, but I am sure that, Kansas is well set up in that regard. So that's one. As of late, I guess apparently you don't hear as much about Georgetown and Ed Cooley. Ed Cooley's done some pretty good work with some big men over the years as well. But you haven't heard to him that's connected with Georgetown. Actually, there's another school that he's more connected with recently, right?
Who?
So it's a school it's a school that's relevant to our podcast. We already mentioned two SEC schools in Kentucky and Arkansas. But yes, Maryland. The Maryland Terrapins.
Should I tell you why he's been Hunter Dickinson has been tagged to Maryland?
Yes. Why has Hunter Dickinson been?
Well, as I said earlier, Hunter Dickinson is an Alexandria, Virginia native. Mm-hmm. Maryland is nearby. Hunter Dickinson played high school ball at DeMatha,
yeah.
DeMatha Catholic High. He was coached by Mike Jones. The last 2 years, Mike Jones has been an assistant coach at Virginia Tech. Guess where Mike Jones will be assistant coaching at this coming season, next season?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say University of Maryland, Baltimore County?
It's a Big Ten school.
Okay.
University of Maryland is close to the high school that Hunter Dickinson went to. His high school coach is on the staff. I'm thinking if I had to bet, my bet would be that Hunter Dickinson will be playing for Maryland next year. He'll still be in the Big Ten. Hunter Dickinson is a rare talent in addition to being a rare person. Earlier this year, he went after Tom Izzo. Told Izzo he needed to get somebody who can guard him during the game.
Yeah.
That's the kind of guy he is. I mean, he got the numbers to back up his game. It's going to be interesting if he does go to Maryland, how things work out.
Yeah, that would be very, very interesting. Michigan's going to be losing a lot. I think Kobe Buffkin entered the NBA. His name in the NBA draft. That'd be pretty tough for Michigan to lose the two best offensive players. But
and not to mention the coach's son.
Yeah, and the coach's son who had an up and down year, but Jet Howard, he had an up and down year, but I'm not sure if that is going to be as bad of an issue for Michigan to lose Jet. No offense or disrespect to him, but he shot him out of some games. His green light maybe should have been a little bit more yellow I'll just say that it might be better for Juwan to not coach his son.
Okay, well, JJ, let's talk about the next year's potential upper echelon in college basketball. Are we going to return to the Blue Bloods? What's your take on next year's potential schools that will make some noise?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of schools that are returning a lot of major talent. Duke, getting Tyrese Proctor back. I think Marquette can return everybody if they want. They won the Big East tournament and regular season.
I did not know that.
So yeah, there's a lot of schools with a lot of returning talent. But just to stay on topic for this, I know it's been a broader type of episode, but like just to get back to the SEC and the Big Ten, I think there's a couple of teams that really stand out in the SEC and the Big Ten that are going to be really, really good next year.
Let me hear them.
One of those teams beat Marquette in the NCAA tournament, and that's Michigan State.
Okay.
They have to lose Joey Hauser, but independent of that, Tyrese Walker or Tyson Walker could come back. AJ Holgard almost certainly will come back. Jaden Akins almost certainly will come back. Max Hall could come back. I think if he does come back, that's I thought he was the X factor for Michigan State since his sophomore season.
Their center.
Yeah, and he had up and down year too, Matty Sissoko, but he can come back as well. I think that they were, for the most part, and Joey Hauser was the second leading scorer, shot 46% from three. He's a big loss.
Yeah, that's dynamite shooting threes like that.
But Tom Izzo's getting 2 top 20 freshmen to come in. Tom Izzo, he might, like if he really attacked the transfer portal, I really think that they have a lot of pieces. I think AJ Holgard took a really big leap in the NCAA tournament. Jaden Akins can either start as the 2, can be the 3, can come off the bench. I just think they have a lot of positional flexibility, a lot of versatility. I think they can match up with a lot of different teams a lot of different ways. So Michigan State would be my favorite to win the Big Ten next year.
Ahead of Purdue, as Zach Edey comes back.
Purdue's losing their best guard, the senior. They still have their freshman. Well, I'll say co-lead. Co-lead with Purdue if Zach Edey comes back. Michigan State.
Co-champion.
Co-champ.
Okay.
Yeah. Co-lead for the champion.
Just out of curiosity, who would you have behind those 2 schools? In your way too early prediction.
Penn State lost their head coach. Illinois lost a lot of talent. Indiana is losing a lot of their talent. For those reasons, Northwestern is retaining. So I don't think Bowie. What's his name? Bowie. I don't think he's coming back. So I wouldn't put Northwestern there. That's a good question. Who would you put third?
Well, I'm a believer of Woodson, the coach. Indiana.
Losing. Well, yeah. Trace Jackson Davis could come back. He could come back. Hood-Schifino, the freshman guard, declared for the draft. He's almost certainly gone. But Trace, you know what? If Trace Jackson Davis comes back, then yeah, I'll put them in the top 3 for sure.
No,
if he doesn't, I don't know.
A lot of people are supposedly high on Ohio State for next year.
Oh, you know what? I would put Ohio State has a lot of freshmen that came on at the end of the year as Michigan State saw in the Big Ten tournament. I would put them ahead of Iowa or yeah.
Well, like I said, I still say Indiana would be the 3rd team, but it's early and time will tell because
with or without Trace Jackson Davis. Like without, if he does not come back, you'd still put Indiana 3rd.
I believe that they would get someone out to replace him out of the transfer pool if he doesn't come back. But yeah, I would put them 3rd.
Okay.
Now, is there any SEC teams that you're high on?
Kentucky. Well, not just Kentucky. Kentucky, Joe Lunardi's already he's their overall number 1 seed going into next year. They have the top recruiting class in the nation, the number 1 player, number 4 player. 3 top 15 players, 5 top 50 players. They could bring Oscar Sweetway back. They could bring Antonio Reese back, CJ Frederick. A lot of it.
Well, Oscar's already said he was gone.
Good. Right? Well, that's probably good. Best for both of us.
Is Kentucky still a blue blood? Is once a blue blood always a blue blood? I'm just curious.
That's a good question. That's a question for Indiana, right?
That's true.
Who do you got?
In SEC?
Yeah.
Oh, I can tell right now who's going to be in the SEC. It won't even be close. Okay. And it won't be Alabama.
Okay.
It won't be Kentucky.
Who is it going to be?
It'll be the WPS, Whoopig Suey, Arkansas Razor. But they already got a replacement for Black out of the transfer portal, although Black hasn't announced that he's going pro. We all know he's going pro. Brazil has decided he's coming back. He only played a few games before he got injured last year.
Yeah.
And he could, some people say he was a late first round or early second round pick this year.
Yeah.
He's coming back. They got a number 6 recruiting class coming in this year. There's a team to beat. But JJ, this is my question. Is
Devo coming back? What?
Oh yeah, he's coming back. Well, he did announce he's going pro.
Is Council coming back?
Council not like him.
You think he's gonna go pro?
I would think he would.
Okay.
But Devo didn't get an agent, so he's able to come back, and I'm sure he's coming back. But this is my question to you, JJ, and sports in general. Will the trend to go longer like UConn did? Will that be the trend? UConn went longer. They had linked everywhere. Is that going to be the new trend?
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's what Alabama tried to do. I mean, everyone wants, like the ability to guard a lot of different positions, which, wingspan can grant you, and standing reach and all of that. But, I mean, San Diego State, who also made the championship game, started 2 guards that were under 6 feet. Lamont Butler and the guy that hit the game-winning free throw in the game before that.
And not to mention FDU.
Yeah, Freddie Dickinson didn't have a player in their rotation that was over 6'2". So I mean, yeah, you do want that, but there are ways to win without it.
Okay. Well, JJ, I look forward to the season next year. I look forward to see how the portal develop, where people finally end up at. And once the portal is closed, we got to come back and talk about next year's team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Before we close for this wonderful day, anything else you got out there?
Nothing left to say. Sports is going a little bit dormant until the NFL draft. So
no, there's baseball.
There is baseball.
The SEC has about 6 teams in the top 20.
Well, they have in the top 6. They have 8 teams in the top 6.
Hey, this is something to talk about.
And Virginia and Wake Forest are the other 8. So it's all ACC and SEC in the top 8. Hey. Arkansas, I think, is 6th right now in the country.
So but there's always baseball. I was going to say something. Can't remember. But, hey, give us your comments on next year's team. What you got? Hit that like button. If you out there and you think you learned something or you think you disagree with me or agree with me, leave a comment. But until then, always remember, if you ain't a Razorback, you ain't chitlin'. Whoopig Suey. We out of here, JJ.
Okay.